providing live finance advice on WMAC since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherri Goss, and Randy Goss. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions or comments. And now live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. Why do I always say Randy's going to be here? That's just weird. Randy's at the house babysitting our grandbaby. Sherri Goss and Becca Wilton are here to take your phone calls this morning. And the phone number is 478-742-0940. So we had some emails from last week's show, which is great. I mean, somebody's listening out there. And so, Becca, you want to talk about the follow-up stuff that we have on the top of the show?
Yeah, we were had some questions around the Social Security, and we talked about a lot about it last week. And we just wanted to clarify that if you wait longer, you can get 8% a year, and if you take it earlier than your full retirement age, so if your full retirement age is 67 and you take it at 62 or 65, it'll be 8% less each year. So we had some questions around that, if it was a difference, if it was before or after. So it is 8% before or after. If you go from the 67 to 70, you get 8% additional each year after the 67 or whatever your full retirement age is.
So if you haven't looked at your statement, you really need to go to ssa.gov and log into My Social Security. You create an account. It takes 5 minutes. Yes, you have to write down your passwords and all of their whatever, but just look at it and look at your benefit at 62, at full retirement age, and 70, and see the difference it makes by waiting. It's huge.
The other question was around the spousal benefits, and we talked about that a little bit. And just to kind of recap, you can receive up to 50% of your spouse's Social Security benefit. You can apply for benefits if you've been married for at least 1 year. And if you've been divorced for at least 2 years, you can apply if the marriage has lasted for 10 or more years. If you have your own work history, you'll want to compare the two and talk to somebody at the Social Security office to see which will be better, either your own benefit or the spousal benefit. And to be eligible, your working spouse would have already needed to have claimed their benefits.
Yes.
And this is based on their full retirement amount. So it's based on their age at either their amount at 66 or 67. And if you take it early, yours can be cut from the 50% if you choose to take it at 62 or 65. And again, they have to take it before you can start taking it.
And so I've had a case, I mentioned this last week, of a client who his spouse died. So he went ahead and took spousal benefits and kept working. Even though it was reduced, it was extra money that he used to pay off his mortgage, which was okay because he wasn't hurting his own benefit, which was going to be greater. And he paid off the mortgage, and then he retired and flipped over to his own benefit. So you can still do stuff like that and navigate Social Security that way to benefit yourself. You just have to do your research.
And have you found that the Social Security office is pretty helpful with that, or do people need to do a lot of that on their own?
There's nobody in the office. They haven't gone to work since last March.
Oh, goodness.
You can call. I had a client call 2 weeks ago. She had a question because she couldn't log in. So she was having trouble. Are you having a buzzing in your ear?
I am.
Me too. CT, why do we have buzzing in our ears? It's kind of like a bee in my head. It's annoying. Thank you. Now I feel like I'm in a tin can. I don't know. Anyways, so she was on hold 2 weeks ago for an hour and 5 minutes for them to tell her they couldn't help her. And I can't remember why, but she lost her password, and I can't remember what the deal was, but it was very frustrating and annoying.
Didn't you say that they could only have their password changed so many times a year or something?
I would have to look it up, or I'm going to be wrong.
Okay. I was thinking that was maybe her problem. She'd already lost her password too many times.
But if you log in, please write down everything that you put in the system and put it in a safe place so that you can log in the next time and be okay. But you need to look at the numbers and compare. And a lot of people applied. Back during the recession, we had a massive amount of people applying early because they were laid off or they were scared it was going to be broke because the news kept talking about how Social Security was going broke. And so it drove all these people to take benefits early. It's not going to go broke. The trustee report comes out every year. Yes, Social Security is going to have a reduced benefit in 2034 if they don't fix it. But everything that I've read says that between the millennials' earnings reaching their peak earning years during that time, it's going to offset it. Plus, we do die. I mean, people do die and go off of it on the other end. So don't take it just because you think it's going broke.
Cool. One last thing that I want to touch on. I had somebody that had questions about this. If your spouse passes away and you get remarried, your benefits can change. So if you were getting survivor benefits from your spouse had passed away and you were eligible for widow benefits, if you get remarried, you could not be eligible for those anymore. So if you get remarried before the age of 60, this cuts off your eligibility, so you can't take benefits based on your deceased ex-spouse's record. But if you wait until after you're 60, you will still be able to collect survivor benefits from your deceased spouse. So
even if you're married.
Yes, even if you get remarried. So I know that there have been people that are older that are, getting their widow benefits, and then they don't want to get remarried because they're afraid they'll lose those. But if you're after 60, then you can still keep your benefits.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yes, awesome.
So next we're going to talk about the fun organization called the IRS. Whoop, whoop. Just love the IRS.
But hey, they gave us a good win here. We get to wait to file our taxes.
So the federal tax deadline has been extended to May 17th, and it's also deferred for the state of Georgia, which gives you more time to pay what you owe and file and all that, except for the fact that if you have to pay quarterly estimated tax payments, do not think that this makes you not having to do that. It does not apply at all. You have to do your income tax payment on April 15th and June 15th, regardless of what you're seeing about this other tax deadline being extended.
I think that's going to confuse people.
Right?
But yeah.
If you pay quarterly taxes, you know who you are.
Keep paying them. You
Yes.
don't get a deadline.
Pay them on time. You don't want to pay. You don't want to get a penalty. Penalties and all that with the IRS are horrible. Was there anything else about that?
I think that was mainly it. It's till May 17th you have, and if you do owe taxes this year, you have for federal, you do have until May 17th to pay those taxes, so you don't have to pay them by April 15th. Most people that are getting a refund are probably going to go ahead and get them in sooner.
Right.
But it does give you a little extra time until the May 17th deadline to get them paid for the federal side.
I have a bunch of clients that told me they're getting refunds and they have no idea why, like $7,000, and they paid last year, and they haven't done anything different.
Did they get their stimulus checks? Could it have anything to do with that?
Doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. I have no idea what's going on. I hope that happens to us.
I was like, I think they better find a CPA, a second opinion to audit their tax return and make sure it's right.
So a lot of my clients have been in this week and last week asking about inflation and worrying about all the money that the government is spending. So let me just talk about this a little bit. So the Federal Reserve foresees the economy accelerating quickly this year, yet still expects to keep its benchmark interest rate pinned near zero through 2023, despite concerns in financial markets about potentially higher inflation. They expect the economy to expand 6.5% this year, way up from last year, and they raised their forecast for inflation by the end of this year to 2.4%. So the Fed said it would continue its monthly purchase of $120 billion in bonds, which are intended to keep longer-term borrowing costs low. So the Fed and the Treasury borrow from each other. That's how this works. They did this back in 2008 and 2009, but this time they're just going a little bit bigger. Still, the Fed's upgraded forecast raised questions about what could cause it to eventually raise its key short-term rate, which affects many consumer and business loans. As the economy strengthens, the policymakers think the unemployment rate will drop faster than they thought in December. They foresee unemployment falling from its current 6.2 to 4.5. And here's what they're not going to tell you. It's because the first week of September, the unemployment benefits are going to be stopped on all the people who are getting it who shouldn't even be getting it. Like I talked about last week.
Yes.
Thousands and millions of people getting unemployment because they're not working, because they choose not to work. So
well, let's come right back to that. We have a caller. 'Cause we can talk about that for a while.
All righty. Good morning. You're on with Sherri and Becca.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good.
Good.
I received a stimulus check the other day,
Uh-huh.
and I want to know what restrictions are on it, what's going to happen to them if I got to pay taxes on it.
Nope.
Just
Free
send
money.
Spend it like a drunken sailor.
Spend it like a drunken sailor.
Absolutely.
You probably need a bigger flat screen TV, don't you? The first checks came out, and my husband was in Walmart that day when the checks were going out, and he said almost every person had a flat screen television in their little cart at Walmart, and so it's really helping change people's lives.
I've heard of new people getting new sofas, new video game consoles,
Right.
New TVs, new cars because they have down payments on it. But yeah, there's no taxes on it.
No restrictions on it. It's just free money from the government, so go have a good time.
Okay. You say so.
So did you get the other two?
Other two what?
Did you get the
Oh,
stimulus
yes.
checks last year? Okay,
Yes.
good. For people who didn't get the checks, I'll repeat it again. You need to file for a credit on your tax return this year if you didn't get those checks, because if you didn't get them, you get a tax credit. So make sure you take care of that. Anywho.
Okay.
So what store are you going to go to?
He'll be at Walmart or Best Buy.
Probably go to my broker.
Oh, there you go.
Ah.
That's the wisest
There
thing to
you
do
go.
with it. That's the
Not,
least
not nearly
popular.
as much fun.
Right.
No.
But you'll be happy in the long run with it.
Yes.
Yep. Very good.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
have a great
you.
day. Yeah, our daughter, they've actually saved all of theirs, and they're putting them into a Vanguard account, investment account.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right? In their 30s. And then she owes $3,000 on their taxes and was really mad because they put all this money in investments already and they don't want to cash it out.
no.
But I was shocked.
One of my kids actually put some, and the one that's the spender, he actually put some in his investment account from his
Yay!
stimulus. Yeah.
They say a lot of people are doing that, so that's a positive trend. Let me see. So, anyways, I'm going to stop reading this.
But-
the bottom line is the Fed's not concerned about inflation right now.
The good news is that they have so many. They're thinking the unemployment rates are going to drop so quickly, which is would be a great thing. But
That's just because they're going to shut it off. They have control over who gets it now. It's the federal government instead of employers. Employers have no control now, according to what I learned last week. They can't shut off the unemployment. The government is keeping it going, and it's unlimited until plus the extra $300. That's why nobody's working more than 2 days a week.
So this article is talking about how many people will actually be receiving it, not how many people are actually unemployed.
Yes.
Okay, because I was
Yeah.
thinking it was just projecting
No.
that all these people are going to be working again.
Well, they'll
like
have
you
to go back to work because they'll shut off the unemployment and the free money will be gone. And the stimulus will be gone. And all that will be gone. Everybody needs to wake up on this thing. If you're working 2 days a week, you need to get a grip.
It's been bad.
It's
We've
not a
been
good-
to a couple restaurants and the wait's really long, and you go in there and there's hardly anybody in there, but they don't have enough servers to take care of people.
Because they're not working.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting at home getting all this money. It's making me crazy.
Got to get people back to work.
Yeah, in September it'll happen. Until then, good luck. So, let me see. Student loan debt is our next thing. This whole Biden thing of how he's going to do this wonderful thing. And this act started under Obama. And then under Trump, it got changed to be more strict. So, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So we see all this information in the news about the student loans, and I originally thought that it was basically anybody that had student loans,
Right.
and there was going to be a program for it.
Not.
No. So this article I found, I started reading deeper into it, and it's called the Borrower Defense Program. And like Sherri said, it started back in the Obama administration, and it's to forgive federal student loan debt for students who were misled, defrauded, or otherwise harmed by their colleges and universities. So it's only for people that had some sort of fraud issue. There was a couple schools that went out of business, and so you got those loans waived. And there was a couple people that couldn't get jobs, and they were promised jobs.
And they owed all this debt for a crappy degree. I mean, that was the problem. Get $25,000 in student loan debt and have a degree that you can't even get a job.
It's crazy. And so I thought it, was a wide variety of students, but it's not. And it said that the student loan debt will be canceled for about 72,000 borrowers. Over 200,000 student loan borrowers have applied for the student loan forgiveness. I can't believe there's 200,000 people out there that think they have fraud with their
I
school
can.
or whatever.
I can, because there was that massive school on Eisenhower Parkway that shut down, and everybody that went through there got ripped off. I mean,
It's
it's
horrible.
It's rampant all over the place because they mislead people. I mean, look at what I went to college back eons ago, and the advisors lied to me about the jobs that were going to be available with my career. degree.
Wow.
They lied to all of us. 30 of us graduated with the same degree. I'm the only person that got a job, and I had to move 600 miles to get the job.
Oh, my goodness.
None of them got jobs in the career field. And that was way back then, because they want to keep themselves relevant, and they want to have enough students to be able to be paid for their jobs. And so they lie to get you into these career fields. And it's been going on forever. But it's even worse today because people's ethics are just horrific.
Yeah, that's true. Those people that run those facilities, they can get that money. They can get the students to borrow money, and
it's bad.
It's horrible.
So yeah, if you're one of these people, you need to apply for this. If you have a legitimate concern, a legitimate case. But I'm sure a lot of people have no case, but they're applying anyways because they just want the free money and they want the student loan paid off because they don't want to work.
I was going to say they can't find a job, or they aren't looking very hard.
Yeah. So there's probably a bunch of people in this pool that are not really legit, but I know there are people out there that are legit that probably don't even know about this.
That's true. Another thing they talked about was the public service loan forgiveness program. So Biden proposed establishing a new income-driven repayment plan that would allow student borrowers to only have to pay 5% of their discretionary income towards their student loans. So that would take their whole life to pay off.
No, then it's forgiven after 20 years. So why am I having to pay for these people's loans?
I know. I had to pay my own student loans.
Right?
No one paid for mine.
I didn't pay for our kids. We made them pay. We're like, you're going to have some skin in the game.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. You're going to be responsible, and you're going to go get a job, and you're going to pay your bills.
Yep.
I'm tired of this.
They're still pushing for this, but supposedly Biden is only going to support $10,000 in broad student loan forgiveness. Other advocacy groups are supporting $50,000, but he opposes that, which I oppose that. And hey, we have the same opinion of something. Woo, go Joe. So anyway, if you think your student loans are going to be forgiven just because you went to school and you have student loans, you're probably sadly mistaken. And maybe $10,000 eventually, but I think there'll be rules around all of that. There'll be, income, and it'll only be for a select group of people probably.
Right.
It's not just going to be a blanket.
So don't go into debt thinking you're going to have it paid off for free.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Realize you're going to have to get a job with this amazing degree you get, and you're going to have to pay back your student loans.
The other complaint that I'm hearing about higher education is the community colleges, which have 17 careers that are absolutely free through the community colleges in the state of Georgia, that they are graduating too many people with the same degree, so there are no jobs.
Wow.
Our daughter is daughter-in-law is a dental hygienist, and she found a job that is great. She drives 45 minutes to it, but she can't find anything closer to home, and they keep graduating more and more and more dental hygienists. And there aren't enough jobs. There are no open jobs for these people. So you really need to do your research. And I thought that they were doing a good job of placing people and making sure that they were only graduating enough people where there were jobs. It's not the case anymore. I mean, there's a bunch of people that go, and they do go into debt, and they go get these careers, and they're really hard workers, and there's nowhere for them to go, which is really a crisis. So make sure that your kids really research the job availability before they choose a career field, because that could be extremely stressful, having debt and then not being able to get a job, or being stuck only working in one place forever and with no upward mobility. That's the other problem.
I wonder if there's a way to get actual, numbers from the schools.
See, they post it on their website, and they say they have these high placement rates, but I don't understand how they have high placement rates when there are no jobs. Our daughter-in-law would love to work in Milledgeville and not drive 45 minutes to her job, but there are no jobs. There's nothing open.
Right. If there's all these new people flooding the market,
right,
and only so many retire a year, I mean, that's something you can do for a long time. I had a dental hygienist. She was like in her 70s. I mean, you can keep doing that for a long time.
Right. And it's hard work, and it's hard on your body, the posture that you have to for cleaning people's teeth. I mean, you got to really consider all the things that are going into the career you choose, and how sustainable is it long term. Like our son's a mechanic, and he's given himself another 10 years because it's so hard on his body, and he's had so many injuries from the work that he does. It's very rare that people can do that kind of work for a really long term without having some kind of disability. Nursing is the same way.
Yeah.
The disability for back injury because of lifting patients is huge. So really, it's not just about what do you want to do or what do you feel like doing. It needs to be broader than that. It needs to be broader, like how sustainable, how hireable are you, how many jobs are open, how long are you going to want to do this sort of thing. way more complicated than I ever took it to be when I was growing up.
When I started school, I went to Purdue University and I started engineering because, there's great fields out there, but it just wasn't for me. And I wanted to switch majors and I wanted to be a beautician and do hair.
Really?
And my dad would not let me go to beauty school. I had the brochures and everything. I had it picked out. And he's like, you're going to get varicose veins. You'll be standing on your feet. How long are you going to be able to do that? And so luckily he talked some sense into me and I went for a nice, sensible accounting degree. But, there's a lot of those things that, like you said, how long can some people do some of those jobs? Your bodies can only take so much.
I was an art major. I don't know how my dad even allowed that, but I was an art freak in high school and I was in the art club and all of that stuff, and that's what I did for a hobby. And one semester showed me that I was not even close to the talent that was out there that I was competing against. There was no way I was going to make it. Those other people were so talented compared to me that I shifted majors the next semester. So yeah, don't help your kids think through all of this stuff, because they may have an idea that they think sounds good and it may not be great. Alrighty, so client questions this week. Student loans.
Yeah, so I had a client ask me what would be the best student loans to take out for their daughter. They're going to they're going to Mercer University here, and they wanted to know which would be the best student loans. So just kind of in order of what you should look for, if you do have to take out student loans, you want to go for the government or federal loans first, and you want to do the subsidized loans first. There are limits for each year that the child's able to take the loans. It's like about $5,500 a year, and it goes up they're from their freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years. And then if you do need extra help after that, try and get any scholarship, grants, work study, and then you would have to go to private student loans.
Work study used to be a really big deal. I had 2 friends in college in our sorority that were doing work study, and it was fantastic. I wonder how prevalent that is anymore.
I don't know. I have several, my kids and their friends in school right now, and 1 or 2 have talked about a program that's out there, but I don't think there's as many programs out there, maybe with everything being more online and, it's maybe they don't need the support as much. But I think there is still some out there, but it's definitely not like it used to be. So then if you do need to go to private loans, there's still government loans that are called Parent Plus loans. So a lot of parents go to this next, and it is a government loan, but it's in just the parent's name. So you want to really do some, soul searching with you and your, future college student to see who's going to be responsible for these loans. Do either anybody, have a government job or maybe possibly going to have a government job where their student loans could be forgiven because of the work that they're in. But the Parent Plus student loans, just the parent's responsible for that. It doesn't tie to the child at all, so they're not responsible for it. And there's even some jobs out there now that are able to give you some money towards your student loans. And if it's not in your name as a student, then your company's not going to give you money to help your parents pay their loans. With a private loan, you can get it in just the parent's name, again, just like the Parent Plus loans, and then the parent's the only one responsible. Or you can co-sign for your student. Students can get private student loans, but most students going into college don't have enough credit, don't have a credit score yet. So you could co-sign for that student. And this is a good way to build their credit, especially if you started paying on one of those student loans while they're in college. If you just defer them all, then it doesn't help them so much at that point. But if you co-sign, then you're both responsible for it. Both your names are on there. And like I said, eventually you could help them build their credit with that too.
I just had a client, I just remembered this, a client in a couple weeks ago, and she co-signed on a student loan with her daughter, and her credit score went down immediately, because it shows up on her credit that she owes the debt because she's a co-signer. And I had never even thought about that. But she was like, why'd my credit score go down? I had to look it up. And it's like, because you're liable. Yeah. You're both liable 100% for the total amount. It's not like it's split 50-50 on your credit score.
Right.
So, so that can happen too.
Yeah, I have twins that are in college, so each semester my credit score takes a little bit of a hit because I have to co-sign on parent loans for them, and every time it shows I have more and more debt every time. But
how exciting!
It is. It's wonderful. But they're going to have amazing degrees, and they're going to go to work.
Or else.
Yes. So when the person was asking me the questions about their student loans for their daughter going to Mercer, we started talking a little more detail. And she does have a 529 account, and she didn't say how much was in there, but she said that she had been advised by someone to go ahead and take out the student loans, and then at the end of the school to turn around and pay the student loans off with the 529 account.
Which just sounds good.
It does. And she said, if you can get student loans that are a lower rate than what the actual 529 is getting, and if it's doing really good, then you could be ahead. But there is a limit of $10,000. It's a lifetime limit for each student of $10,000 that can come out of that 529 for the student loans. So you want to be careful that I don't know how much you would have in your 529, but a lot of people, probably have more than that, and you can only do $10,000 towards your student loans, and that was based on the Secure Act of 2019. So it's for the whole lifetime. It's not a year. It's just that one time.
So a 529 plan is really easy to create. I was able to do it without reading any guides or anything. I mean, go to Path to College, the number 2, pathtocollege.com is a Georgia 529 plan, and every state has their own plan, and each state is a little bit different. But it's very easy to transfer money into it, and you just pick the year for the investment. You just pick the year they're going to graduate, and it just rides itself out. I mean, our daughter was going to contribute to it because in Colorado, she didn't feel like starting another one in Colorado, so I had to send her a link, a one-time link that she could use to contribute, and it was such a hassle she decided not to. But for the person starting it and opening up, just make sure you write down all your passwords and everything you enter in the system so that you can get in next time, because it's a bunch of questions you have to ask or answer.
Well, just some more information about the 529 plans. According to research from the collegeboard.org, for the 2020 and 2021 school year, the cost of attending a public college for an in-state student was approximately $10,560, including tuition and fees. And for out-of-state students, the cost nearly tripled to $27,000 a year. At private college, averages about $37,650. So you really need to start early if you're going to be sending your kid to out-of-state or to a private school. So the 529 plans, they differ from some of the other plans that there are limits, but they're very high. The Coverdell, which used to be a real popular one, has a $2,000 a year limit that can be contributed for each child. So the 529 has a benefit that your grandparents, your uncles, anybody that wanted to could contribute to your 529 plan. And each state does have a limit, but it's relatively high. I think Georgia is like almost $200,000.
$235,000 is a maximum contribution limit.
Yeah, so you can, most people aren't going to have quite that much saved for their child anyway, but you can put money into it. Like a grandparent could do $15,000 per grandchild each year, and it would still count under the gift tax. And then they can be putting that money away, and it can all go into one fund. But the 529 does count as the child's income or as their ability to support whenever they're doing the FAFSA forms. So it will count for the child being able to give more. So it might interfere with what they can actually get as far as need-based scholarships. But if people are putting that much money into the account anyway, they're probably not going to qualify for anything.
And the grandparent can exactly give $75,000 in a one-time lump sum contribution with the understanding that it would cover 5 years' worth of gifts. So if you want to just give a chunk to a kid in a 529, that you can do it that way. And then if they don't go to college or they don't spend all that money, it can be transferred to a sibling. So in Georgia, you can open a 529 plan with $25, or you can do a $15 per pay period deduction through your employer. Up to $10,000 a year of the 529 in Georgia can be used toward K through 12 tuition or vocational schools. For a regular university, you can pay for tuition, room and board, computers, fees, and books. Unused money can go to another eligible family member. And let me see. Georgia contributions are deductible up to $8,000 per year on your for joint filers, $4,000 for single on your Georgia state tax return.
So you'd want to talk to your tax advisor, but I have heard of people kind of running their money through that account. So you could donate to that account each year. Like Sherri said, you can do up to $8,000 if you're filing jointly. You can put $8,000 a year, get that deduction on your taxes, and then turn around and pull that money out and pay off your, like if you're sending your kid to private school for high school, or elementary, then you can pay for that out of there, and so it's a way to get a deduction.
Stick it to the IRS.
the Georgia. So there are different ways to use that, and some people, will kind of filter their money through each year just to get that deduction, and it's perfectly legal. We're not saying anything that's not legal.
Right.
They used to have prepaid tuition plans, and they aren't as prevalent now. But you could prepay for a school's tuition and lock in the rate that you're paying at. One thing we were talking about with grandparents, another way that they can help is to actually pay directly to the school.
Yes.
So the gift, you have $15,000 that you can give per person per year to be under the gift limits. But if you pay directly to the school, that won't actually count towards a gift. So the check has to be written to, Mercer University or University of Georgia. You can't write it to the student, because if it does go through the student's hands, then it does count as a gift.
Yes. Excellent. So, let me see. What was the limit on that? It's not that number. I thought it was $10,000 a year.
The gift
Directly to the school.
I don't think there is any limit. The article that we said grandparents can pay the educational expense directly to the provider. It doesn't count against their annual exclusion of $15,000. So even if you send $20,000 a year to your grandchild's college, the amount over $15,000 doesn't count against your lifetime exemption.
Okay. I want to say there was a difference between, I'm thinking of the private school K through 12 was $10,000 limit a year.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking
Yes.
about. Okay.
So if you're paying towards, like she said, K through 12 for your private school for your kids, you can only take $10,000 a year out of the fund, regardless of what bill you have to pay for that. And I think that's just for the actual tuition. Whereas when you get into college, the 529 you can use for tuition, and you can
All
use
the
for
other
books
stuff.
and other
Yes.
stuff, as long as it's qualified.
Yep. Anyways, do your homework. And so I have a client that put 3 of his children through dual enrollment through the high school. And he's a teacher. His wife's a teacher. So they knew about this, and they prepared their children for it. And they've saved 6 years' worth of college expenses getting free associate's degrees. And so we were talking about this yesterday, and Becca looked it up. And it's called dual enrollment. And I wish that we had known this existed when we moved here, because our daughter should have been in this program. And nobody ever talked to us about it. So it used to be 2 years. They've changed it. So effective summer term 2020, eligible high school students enrolled in 10th, 11th, and 12th grades may receive dual enrollment funding for eligible core courses up to 30 semester or 45 quarter hours is the cap now. So they've capped it out. It's less than what it used to be. And I don't understand why, because we're wanting more people to get an education. So this makes no sense.
But there is the cap for the 30, so you could still get a full year paid for if you did complete dual enrollment, where you actually went on campus and took those.
Right.
And you can still do it for the 2 years. You're just not going to get the paid part. So the 1 year your parents or you would have to pay for. But it's still cheaper than if you go away to college.
It's way cheaper. But all 3 of his kids went to college with their associate's degrees for free.
That's
had
just
him
awesome.
free because he knew to do it. They have to be able to score well enough on the PSAT, and so you have to have some preparation to do this. But if you have grandkids that are in middle school, talk to your kids about this, because a lot of people don't know about this, and there are careers out there. I was at the Frito-Lay plant in Hawkinsville 2 years ago doing an education program, and I was talking to one of the managers, and I asked him how things were going. He said, "Man, we're killing it, but we can't hire anybody. There is no one to hire, so we're going to the high schools and begging these kids to get their associates in engineering in their junior and senior year, and then they can come with us and become an apprentice for 5 years and learn how to run all this automated and robotic equipment, and they'll have a job for the rest of their lives and make really great money." And so I think this is going to be a trend. I think this is going to happen more and more and more. The companies will not be able to find people who have learned the things they need to learn to go work for these companies, which is why Google and Intel have started their own programs. Walmart, if you work at Walmart for $1 a day, you can go back to school and study supply chain management and logistics, because they want those people to stay in their business and grow with the company. And so that's a huge trend. And so I really question 4 years of college in the future for the grandkids. I really think there's going to be so many programs that are going to be accelerated to get you ready, because we have a family member whose son graduated, went to private school, really expensive private school, all the way through high school, private college, extremely expensive college, graduated with an IT degree, and got a job that paid him $15 an hour.
Wow.
Because by the time he finished school, he was behind the current technology. It's changing so rapidly that the schools are not educating people fast enough or well enough. And he went to a private school and paid a boatload of money for that degree. So you really need to consider all of these things when you're choosing a degree program, or how much you're going to spend, or how much debt you're going to go into, or where the jobs even are, because it's all shifting rapidly. And I think young people are getting stuck in a crack by that if they don't do their research and if their parents don't help them. So this
it will
was
be
good.
very interesting to see what happens over the next few years. With so many colleges have gone all online right now, and they're trying to morph back to half and half. I think my boys have probably about half their classes that actually are in person now on campus, but there's a few other classes that are still completely online. And you wonder,
the level of education. How good is it?
It's horrible. One of them really struggles with online classes, and the teacher records these lectures and then tells you to ask questions about it and send him an email or whatever, or they have discussion topics about his recorded lecture or whatever. And one of the professors even tells you to go listen to this other guy that taught at some other school and listen to his lectures. He didn't even do his own lectures.
What? But he's still getting paid full time.
Yes, absolutely.
What a country.
And the kids aren't even learning. Yeah, it's horrible. One other thing I found when I was doing the research on the dual enrollment, and we had talked about it, it was talking about how in 8th grade, all the information is supposed to go out to the students. So your schools failed you when they didn't let you know about that for your kids.
I've never heard about this at all. And we should have had our daughter in it. She really flailed around, and this would have really helped her get focused a lot better. So anyways, so Bernie Sanders, who's the Senate Budget Committee chairman. What a country.
Oh, Bernie.
Oh my
He's still
gosh.
around.
Recently introduced an estate tax plan that specifically lists the wealthiest Americans amid a large push of the Biden administration for tax hikes, largely affecting corporations and high-income Americans. But wait, there's more. So they wanted to enact a progressive estate tax on the inherited wealth. CT.
Is there a call?
The phone's ringing. Is the phone ringing? Oh, it's ringing. Let's answer the phone. He was asleep. He didn't sleep well last night. Good morning. Are you there?
Good morning. The very best to you, Sherri and Becky.
We can barely hear you. Are you on speakerphone?
Good morning.
Yeah, let me turn it off. Is that any better?
Not really. I can hardly hear you.
How about now? Is that a little bit better?
I can hear
Just
you
a little
pretty
bit,
good,
yeah. Mm-hmm. What you got?
Okay. I'll try to talk right into the phone.
That would be good.
Got 3 things real quick. Number 1, did you all talk about FEMA giving either $7,500 or something towards the burials or the funerals for people with COVID? Did you all talk?
I have never heard of that.
We didn't talk about it. I saw that on the news this week that there's, if you died after, was it January 1st of 2020, and you it was COVID was listed on your death certificate, then you can apply for FEMA money. I didn't remember the amount, but $7,500 sounds about right.
I have never heard this anywhere.
But yeah, so my mother passed away last fall, and it was due to COVID, and so you can go back, and FEMA is providing this money for people.
What a country.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine up in Tennessee, and she told me her husband died of that, and she either got something in the mail about it or she heard it on the news, but she was telling me about it too. It was $7,500, so I
Wow.
think that's good information.
That is good information. Thank you.
Towards the funerals. And number 2, you all were talking about credit. I remember my dad told me to get a loan from Robbins Federal Credit Union when I was real young, just starting out. I guess I was 16, 17. And so I just got like $1,000 loan, and then I went ahead and paid it all off within, I think, a month. And then I had a little interest on it. And then he told me to get a credit card and then just go ahead and pay that off, when I got the bill.
Right.
And so I did that, and that's how, my credit became real good. And I'm like you, Sherri. I don't want any debt on a credit card at all. I always pay those credit cards off. And so now I think my credit score is about like 860, because I don't have any debt and I pay off all my credit cards.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
I wanted to let people know about that too. And the other thing about school, I think it's absolutely imperative that if you do go to college, You got to start thinking about it when you're in the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th
Right.
grade. Start looking for these scholarships, and if you can, go to a community college that's close by you. Get that first 2 years, and it's not going to be as expensive.
Right.
And then you can transfer, and it's easy to transfer, and then, hopefully in your state, because when you go out of state, it's just ridiculous how much they want for that.
It really
But
is.
anyway, those
Becca can contest to that.
Yeah,
Attest.
and I think it's so important, Sherri, just like you said, get these people started in these programs that are with these companies. And if they will just stick with it and stop jumping around to all these different jobs, you can move up to not just a manager, but an owner maybe of a franchise, or, become a store manager of Publix or Walmart,
Right.
and you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. People don't realize that, but you got to stick with it. Anyway, that's my spill. I hope you all have a great day today and keep up the great information about Social Security.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Have a good one. Give Teresa a hug for us.
One thing I'd like to add that he mentioned, it's very good to get credit early if you can afford it and you're responsible with it. And like he said, if you did get a loan, kind of like with student loans, your credit score is based on your history of how you make the payments. So I'm not sure how well, if you took out a loan and made a payment like 1 month and paid it off, it really wouldn't give a history. So what, other borrowers or other lenders are looking at when they look at your credit report is how likely are you to make your payments. And so if you've gotten that loan and maybe it was a 12-month loan and you made payments every single month on time for 12 months, that shows that you're responsible and that you can pay on time. So you do want to keep that in mind with the credit card. If you put, gas on it every month and $20 and you pay it off every month, then it's a monthly payment. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to carry a balance. I had someone this week send me a message and say, should I use my stimulus check to pay off my credit card? I said, I think that'd be a great idea. And they had like a 0% for 18 months or something. And I said, well, if you were going to put your stimulus money in something and invest it and make money on it and then, wait to the 18 months, it might be better to, do that. But kind of like, most people don't think that far ahead and aren't always really good with that. And then 18 months later, they've spent the money on something else or something came up. So, I said, yeah, go ahead and take that stimulus check, pay off your credit card balance, because I think you'll be better off in the end. But if you do pay your balance each and every month, you're still going to get credit history for paying it. You don't need to keep a balance. So then she said, well, should I leave it like 30%? I heard that's what you should leave. And I said, no, you're never getting good credit for
Right.
carrying a balance on a credit card.
Right.
You get good credit for having available credit that you could take if you needed, and you get, your credit score based on making your monthly payments. But
And on the mix of credit. That's
Yes.
huge. That's like 30% of your credit score is the mix. So you need multiple different types of accounts, like
Right.
a mortgage, a credit card, a student loan, a personal loan. I mean, all of those things factor in at the fact that you can qualify for that improves your credit score huge.
Right. And the mortgage loan's the best to have mortgage loan history. And, that's the one that you should be the easiest to pay because you want to stay in your house. So
Right,
you want to
right.
keep paying that. Like Sherri said, it's great to have a mix and not to be just credit cards, because if you have just all these credit cards and that's all your payments are from, that's not going to be the best thing for your score either.
So if you want to look at your credit score for free, go to creditscorecard.com. A few years ago, Discover Card started offering free credit reports for their customers, and it became so popular that they set up their own website, creditscorecard.com, and you can go there, create a username and a login, give up your personal information. Yes, I lived on this street. Yes, I had this mortgage. Yes, I had this loan, blah, blah, blah. And you do all of that, and then you can see the scores, your FICO score, which is the score that most retailers use. The other thing that you can see once you log in is after you look at your score, it will show you what you can do personally to improve your credit score. It's all personalized for you. It's fantastic. The website is fantastic, and it's absolutely free. And at the end, they'll pitch a Discover card to you. You don't have to get one. You don't have to pay anything. Don't ever go anywhere and pay to see your credit score. It's free. And you can get your credit reports free twice a year too. So
And from each credit
Yes,
agency.
from each-
So there's
yep.
3, I believe there's still 3. And so you can get one each year from them, and some even twice a year. So you could get up to 3 to 6 credit reports for free. And they do have different scoring systems. Some are on an 800, some are on a 900. And so it's a good idea to take a look at all of them, because there are some companies that report to one versus the other. And so there could be something on one credit report that you don't see on the other credit report.
do you off the top of your head remember that website? I want to say it's freecreditreport.com, but I'm not sure.
That does sound right.
I'll have to look it up. So don't ever pay to get your credit score or credit report. Never pay. And I'm not going to look it up right now, but you could go to the Clark Howard's website, clark.com, and just do a search, free credit report, and he'll have it on there because I know he has that easy access.
One other thing with the credit cards, if you use your credit card regularly, hopefully you're just using it like a little bit each month and paying it off each month in full, you will have, most credit card companies now provide you with a credit score. And so my credit card companies will say, hey, your FICO's been updated, and they'll say, hey, you had no new any new activity this month and your score's the same, or hey, your score went up 2 points or it went down and this is what happened. And so you can go into the app or the website and actually look and see. And like Sherri said, a lot of them will even give you, how can you make your score better, pay off this, or do this. And every time you get an inquiry, every time you apply for another loan or credit card and get another inquiry, that can hurt your score. But it'll tell you and give you advice on how to keep your credit up and the best score you can have, so you can get the best rates possible.
Excellent. All right, back to Bernie and the Senate Budget Committee. So under the legislation that he's proposing, let me see here. Families of all 657 billionaires in America would have here. Let me start this over. The families of 657 billionaires in America have a combined net worth of over $4.26 trillion. They would owe $2.7 trillion in estate taxes.
How is this fair?
How is it possible?
That would be nice if you took half their money and put it towards, the debt.
But it's not like laying around in like stacks of bills.
Right.
It's investments in the market. It's investments in property, businesses.
And so they have to pay off the national debt because they happen to be rich.
Right. So Sanders' estate tax plan would exempt the first $3.5 million. Here's the good news for most of us: the first $3.5 million of an individual estate from the tax. See, so right now the current estate tax exemption is $11.7 million. He wants to lower it to $3.5. If your family has a farm, you could easily be in the $3.5 million range. It doesn't take that much. I have a client that was in last week. His business is worth $12 million. He needs to start transferring it to the heir. They're going to have to work around this stuff because it is not fair and it's not right for someone to work all their third-generation farmer, and then all of a sudden they're going to just grab a bunch of your money. I am totally against this concept.
It says between $3.5 million and $10 million. So if your estate is worth $3.5 million to $10 million, you're going to be taxed at 45%.
Which means you're going to lose your business.
I mean, half of it. And then it goes all the way up to, 55. And if you have over $1 billion, which, most people don't, but you get taxed 65%. They're going to take more money than they leave you just to leave your estate to somebody. If you, like Sherri said, you've worked hard and you've built this huge dynasty and business, and then they're going to just tax you out the wazoo. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, just pay attention to that. If you're in this category, you need to meet with an attorney and a CPA and figure out what to do. Go ahead.
They tried to make you feel better, though. It said the plan would only impact the wealthiest 0.5% of Americans. So they're trying to let us know that, most people it's not going to affect. But, I'll never be in that category of, having $1 billion to have to worry about, I don't think. But still, I feel bad for people that have worked hard. And like Sherri said, it's not like it's laying around in a bank vault somewhere. It's invested. And to have to pay that kind of tax is just ridiculous.
So my dad was third generation from Norway. Actually, he was... Yes, third generation. So I'm fourth generation Norwegian. They came to Idaho. They were sponsored by farmers. They came to Idaho. They started farming with other farmers and living off nothing and working their way into buying land and growing crops and buying land and growing crops and that's what he did 6 days a week, all year long, his entire life, his parents' entire life, the grandparents' entire life. And so he ended up, his estate was about $3.5 million because of all the land that he bought. We still have another piece of it that's going to get sold this year. And so it's not like this outlier of just extremely rich people that have this situation. It could be just an average person that worked really hard. And that's what gets me. It kills me that they're trying to do this to farmers and small business owners. I think it's criminal. I'm totally against it. So figure out a way to work around it.
Yeah, I have a client that had, in the 5 to 6 million range, and we did financial planning, and we were like, hey, you're great because you're under that 11 million cap. Everything's going to be fine, to transfer the wealth. But like you said, the 3.5 nowadays, that if especially add in some land, and if you have a couple properties, that can, add up pretty quickly. So you definitely need to do planning and hopefully figure out a way to get it shifted through generations before all these changes go through.
And crazily enough, the estate tax exemption is still 11.7 million, or the gift tax exemption. So you could begin gifting this property, or you could start moving some stuff around. That is still legal while they're trying to figure this other bill out, or this other proposal. So yeah, you just need to, if this is you need to do something to be in preparation.
We had the article about the next one,
yes,
the gift tax, and we talked about you can do $15,000 per person, and if you're a married couple, so say you're a grandma and a grandpa, you're married, and you're giving money to say your daughter and her husband, you can give them $60,000 because you can do $15,000 per person, to each
5
person.
years of gifts.
Well, so the grandma could, she could give her daughter $15,000 and her son-in-law $15,000, and then the father could give them each $15,000. So that could be $60,000. Like Sherry's saying, you can, as long as you stay under the 11.7 million in your lifetime, there's no estate tax. There'll be an exemption, but there's a form that you need to complete, and you want to make sure that you do that because the IRS is keeping track of your overall lifetime gifts. And that way you can kind of get that already filed, and they'll need to know about it. But that way you don't have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah, and so they're talking about changing the estate and gift tax to 3 to 5 million from the 11.7, and 55% tax rate for large estates. I just think this is crazy. So yeah.
And some other changes they have talked about doing are to eliminate the step-up basis adjustment for inherited assets.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. That is huge. So how this works, so let's say you inherit, like we inherited a lake house from my dad. So us 5 kids put the house on the market, it sells, and when we sold it, we owed no tax because the property gets a step up in cost basis to the date of death value. So the valuation is increased. You turn around, you sell it. You pay no tax on the gain. You pay no tax on it at all. A lot of people don't realize this. Same happens for land, inheriting anything. But property is usually the most common. And the most common thing is individual stock. You inherit a portfolio of stock. It's not in a retirement account at all. It's in an individual account that was owned by that person. You inherit it. Whoever you're dealing with needs to step up the cost basis on every stock holding to the date of death value, and then you can liquidate the account and pay no tax.
So maybe Dad bought Coca-Cola stock back in the 70s or 80s, and he paid, $5 or $6 or whatever per share. And like she's saying, the day that he dies, that's the new value for you. So you aren't stuck with that $5 basis having to pay gains on all of that. Whatever the new value is, that's what your basis is. And so you only pay taxes from there on out. So
but they're wanting to eliminate this. They're wanting to eliminate this. And it's one of the last best things we have in this country is being able to inherit assets and for things to pass generation to generation. And they want to stop it and make the entire thing taxable.
In capital gains, they're talking about ending the preferential income tax rate for capital gains for high earners. The current top effective rate for long-term capital gains is 23.8, and it could end up to 40%.
Yeah, this is bad. This is not good for anybody.
We all need to write letters to our senators.
Right.
Well, not the Georgia senators.
Right. So the next thing we have a few minutes left. Do you want to talk about what you're doing for clients with the financial plans instead of this other article? What
Sure.
are you thinking?
Yeah. So I've been working through my new software and working with a couple people, and we're just really looking through what their expenses are going to be when they retire and how they're going to cover those expenses. And so we can figure out when they're going to take Social Security, when they should retire, what type of pension they're going to have, if they have a pension or not, and then which funds they'll need to take from, if it's their IRAs, if it's their investment accounts. But there's just so much you can do. I have a client that's coming in next week, and she wants to retire in December, and hopefully we can, go through the plan and find a way to make that happen. I'm a little leery. I think that, we may be a little bit short, but I want people to, have a realistic view of what's going to happen, because we've seen so many people that really just picture in their mind to be one way, and then they go ahead and they just jump the gun because they're tired of working and they've worked for 30 or 40 years and they've had enough. and they leave, and then they end up, needing to go to Walmart or something. And, you leave this $30, $40.
Not to shop.
Yeah, not for their big screen TV. But they've made $30, $40 an hour, and now they're going back looking for a minimum wage job just to make ends meet. And it's really sad. And, I know that sometimes you're just ready to get out and you want to leave that job, but if you can stay an extra year or two, sometimes it can make a huge difference in the long run. Yes,
pay off debt
that house
is huge.
Payment or a car payment, and set yourself up for a better retirement. Another thing that I do a little different than Sherri and Steve, I do mutual funds. And so we have what I call the Genesis program. It's our new program that we started offering, and we can start with as little as $5,500. So we don't have the higher minimums with this program, and it's like a mutual fund of funds. So there's different portfolios, and we talk through all of that based on your risk and the different companies we use. And it is considered managed money, but it's mutual funds, and it's a big fund of funds. So in some cases, depending on how much you invest, you may be in like 10 or 12 different mutual funds, and it's basically, to invest in and hold kind of the long run look. So it's a little different than what we do for the Retire Relax. And so if you have questions about that, you want to learn more about it, give me a call, 478-922-8100. Email me, Becca@rfmoney.com, and I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yay. You can also go to our website and learn a lot from our special reports. Randy's been working on uploading this program to the website. He has a few of those loaded. He's got some of my TV appearances loaded. He's got the special reports fixed.
My videos are on there.
Oh, yay. Oh, good. Yeah, check the videos out. So you go to retirerelax.com and you can see all that stuff for absolutely free, and we will not hunt you down and track you down and call you and harass you and try to get you to come in. You can do it totally anonymously and get all this free information that can help you make really good financial decisions. And with that, we're not quite yet. Oh, you're so funny. You can always email us too, Sherri@rfmoney.com, Sherri@rfmoney.com. If you want any of the articles that we talked about today, we can always throw those your way if you'd like to have more information. And with that, have a great weekend.
See you later.
The views expressed on this show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.